Hello and welcome to today's session. I hope you're all doing amazingly well from whichever part of the world you are watching. It continues to be incredibly gloomy here in Madrid. It has not stopped raining. It's like a throwback to when I lived in London, and it just seemed that there were endless grey days. And I think we've had, our fair share of rain here in Madrid. I shouldn't be complaining, but I am complaining because it does put a span in the works for my training for the marathon, and I have to run in the rain, and I don't enjoy running in the rain because I don't want to get ill. But that said, the rain is also this gloomy weather is also a good time for introspection. And as I'm working through the weeds of writing my second book, some ideas have come up to mind, since last week's session. So, as I promised, I'm going to share everything, all the messiness. So, you will see that today and the future sessions that I do for you is pretty much as I'm thinking them, I am sharing it with you. So, there will be messiness, and not all my thinking ducks are in a row. But as I go deeper into the subject of wellness and just seeing how wellness has performed in the last 2 decades and where we are today. And when I talk about wellness, I mean specifically wellness in hospitality, where I am. And I will take it a step further and speak to those owners of boutique properties. It could be boutique wellness resorts or boutique retreats, but we're talking about independently owned properties. Because I think when you're talking about large hotel chains where you have that asset light approach and it's more of a management contract and a different owner, I think there the dynamics are different, though I do think the same principles can still apply. So just wanted to give that backdrop. So we're talking about wellness within hospitality, and then I'm narrowing that further down to the boutique hotel owner or the boutique resort owner. And these last few weeks, I have touched upon how wellness has been the new kid in the block. So the newest department in the hotel coming in. What's 20, 30 years maximum, I would say, maybe longer. But the way we know the modern hotel, it's been 30 years maximum, I would say, in my experience. And that's still relatively new. And it came in as an amenity department, something that was different. And now it's kind of mainstream. It seems that every hotel has to have wellness, and they have that kind of pressure that they must do wellness. And what they've done is traditionally they created a hero model without even realizing it, where all the weight of wellness sat on the shoulders of one person, the expert in wellness. Traditionally, it'll be spa, then now it's, upgraded to wellness. But traditionally, on that expert, the person who knows about wellness most. And because wellness represented such a tiny portion of the hotel's profit and loss, um, it just made commercial sense to keep that weight on one person's shoulder. And it was manageable back then. But as wellness has kind of exploded in the last 5 years, and it's front and center of most subjects, clearly the pie, the slice of wellness when it comes to the hotel's overall P&L is getting larger and larger. I wouldn't say as large as food and beverage and rooms yet, but our industry is notorious for not measuring accurately. We never measure apples with apples. So we have still, though the wellness pie has increased, what we contribute has increased in terms of revenue. hoteliers have still held on to that hero model where one person, the head of wellness, is the person entirely responsible for the weight of wellness. And because our wellness leaders have been promoted from within and not been given the adequate training, we find that these wellness leaders are holding several jobs at once. And because they don't have the proper business training, they're not given the right authority or a seat at the hotel's big table when it comes to big picture strategy work. That will change. I do see that changing in the next 10 years. So that is what's happening when it comes to the leadership front and a possible reason as to why that's happening. And now, in my 18 years having my consulting business and over 23, 24 years in the industry, specifically wellness and hospitality, um, what I see now is that you have that hero model happening. And then now that we've had kind of 2 decades of experience under the belt, I've seen some brands and some boutique properties really thrive with their wellness offering and others not so much. And that is when last week I talked about, as I had an inspiration when I was running, where, Jim Collins' book that I have on my bookshelf there, Good to Great, he talked about how we need to get the right people on the bus, get the wrong people off the bus, and then place the right people on the right seats. Apart from having that hero model, we've never really defined the right seats when it comes to wellness. So it's very difficult to fill them if we don't know what the right seats are. And last week, I attempted to define what those right seats are, in my opinion. And there were 5 seats. One is the visionary seat, that'll be the owner's seat. And their job is to give the brief of what they want their property, what their vision is, including wellness. And I'm not talking about the nitty gritty, but what wellness means to them. That's one seat. Then you have the seat of the so-called architect. I'm not talking about an architect as a profession of an architect, but I'm talking about the wellness person, the wellness consultant who designs that kind of overall wellness concept based on the owner's vision. So they're pretty much creating that blueprint design. That is your architect. Then you have the structures team that come in, MEP, landscape, all the people that come in to actually execute that concept. So what it would look like to implement that. So you're talking, that's your structures kind of seat. Then, once the structures are laid and we're making sure that we have some solid pillars in place for the design, the concept brief to work, the fourth team would be the interior design team. They come in and they make that structures, that building livable, so to speak, with all the different kind of elements that will be needed in each of these specific areas. And then the fifth seat is the operations team. They come in, they actually live the building. They're the ones stewarding it, and they're the ones maintaining that kind of wellness building, that wellness structure. So we talked about the hero model, and then we talked about why we haven't yet defined those seats and why it is important to define those seats. And the same person can't do all. And we're seeing that we could get away with it, let's say 10, 15 years ago. We can't get away with that now because each seat is so incredibly important. You wouldn't get your interior designer to go and be the architect of a physical building. It just doesn't make sense. The same happens when you're creating your wellness offering, particularly if you want to create a wellness asset. So we have the hero model happening, all the weight on one shoulder, and the wellness person is the system, is the structure. So there is no governance. The wellness person goes, so does the entire wellness concept. Then, now we're in the situation where clearly we're getting the right people on the bus, getting the wrong people off it, and now we're defining the seats. And once we've defined the seats, it's a lot clearer to actually put the right people in the right seats with the right expertise. Today, I wanted to take it a step further. I'm seeing many, boutique hotels owners reaching out to me who already had a wellness offering and some form of spa, gym, etc. And they're seeing the importance of wellness and they don't want to be left behind. And they're reaching out and saying, so how can we introduce wellness in a meaningful way in our property, but with minimal investment? We are at the stage where we cannot invest more because we know how our wellness profit and loss looks like. It's high capital and it's also high human capital. And in certain parts of the world, that makes your wellness P&L not incredibly lucrative. So this is where I go back to what kind of anchors everything, where wellness succeeds or fails at the level it's designed, and it endures at the level it is stewarded. And you could be a ninja at stewarding a wellness concept. But if it's designed incorrectly, no amount of stewardship is ever going to correct a poor design. So if you have a liability from the get-go, a liability will always be a liability. So this, I still continue to speak about that wellness asset is so important in the 4 types of wellness offerings. You have the asset, the liability, the opportunity, and just kind of a risk that you have in your business. And I still firmly stick to that. So, just literally at the level you're designing, whether that wellness offering is going to succeed or fail. Whether that success endures over time is entirely dependent on how we steward it. And I go back to saying the 2 things that I wanted to try out here and, getting my thinking ducks in a row so you can see it's still very messy and I'm thinking through it as I'm speaking to you. This is where the who comes before what and, what we're creating, how we're going to do wellness. And the who's very kind of linked to the why. Now, let me put this into some intelligible kind of argument here. Here's what I want to say. The visionary, that is the owner, has to be the person who sees themselves as the person who has a certain type of wellness offering. If the visionary of the project, of their own property, does not align with a certain wellness concept or wellness vision, that's never going to work. What an asset looks like in one property does not look like an asset in another property. So let me rewind here. For someone, a wellness offering could be a longevity center, and they believe in it firmly. and they will see their concept past the finish line, come what may. And we have seen a number of cases in our industry where that has happened. And I know one here in Spain, and I'm not going to name brands or anything. When they started, it was a very rough start. But I know how hard this family run business has worked to make that kind of the holy grail of like a wellness clinic, a longevity clinic around the world. But their start was not easy. But they were very clear that they were going to get to the end destination, even if it took them nearly 20 years to do so. So the vision of those owners was key to see the concept past the finish line. And what I see happening here is I see some boutique hotel owners, just because of this wave we see in wellness and now longevity coming in, and then everyone thinks they know how to do everything. This is where I find many boutique hotel owners feel that they have this pressure to do wellness correctly, whatever correctly and properly might mean. And what the last 5 years has shown us is that there is no playbook out there. I mean, I am truly impressed with some wellness concepts I see being created that you're like, how could it ever work? And it does work. And I've gone back to each of those cases and thought, why is it that it's working? And in other circumstances, why is it that it's not working? The ones where their wellness offering is working, some of them are not even fancy. They're very simple, but they have a lot of success. And the reason they have success is that overall wellness offering aligns with the visionary's vision, their idea of what wellness means. And it also aligns with the kind of thermometer, when it comes to wellness success thermometer, that what wellness means for them. And it aligns with them. And the boutique hotel owners, where I see they're still struggling with wellness, even when they're doing it incredibly well. And even if their intention is really good, I mean, it's a solid intention, they want it to work. The reason it feels like they're taking a boulder uphill is that they don't fully believe in their wellness offering. Now, it doesn't mean they're not believing in wellness. They do, and they want to do wellness properly, and they're investing in it. But what they are creating does not align with their vision or what makes them feel comfortable about wellness, their personal definition. So there's kind of this cognitive dissonance. If you don't own that wellness offering, that concept, it doesn't sit with you, it doesn't mean it's bad. You are not going to go out of your way to see it past the finish line. Why has that Spanish brand had that success 20 years down the road? That unwavering faith that their concept of wellness was going to work. And they've made it work. And they were willing to go all in. And they did meet obstacles, obviously, like any business owner would, I would imagine. But the difference was there's alignment. And when I see poor boutique hotel owners suddenly find that, oh, I have to do wellness properly, whatever properly means, properly according to someone else, not according to me. And then when they do come across their valley of despair and the river of misery, which they will, they're lost. They can't fight through it because they're not kind of aligned with it. So this is why there's a chapter I want to put in the book where it's who you are. You know, are you the person who wants to see that wellness concept through to the finish line? And that's purely the visionary seat, the owner's seat. Every single expert will have a definition or an idea of how to do wellness properly. That doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is the visionary, whether they're comfortable to do what it takes to get to that man transformation, to see their wellness concept through to success. Be it directly with the team, getting the right team members. So, who is very important? And that comes before what kind of wellness offering you're creating and how you do wellness. And then I want to take it down further is there is no right or wrong way of doing wellness. I mean, I'm just looking at my backdrop while I'm speaking to you. That is a wellness backdrop. That is my definition of go out in the mountains, hike, just, stare out there, even if it's pouring down with rain. Fair enough. Wellness can be have a lovely glass of wine, reading a book you really wanted to, or just having fun with your loved ones, or just being alone, going through your grief, whatever. Wellness is so personal and so, it changes, it adapts, it evolves. It's not something that doesn't change. It's not a constant. And your well-being goal, that overall well-being, your definition will also change as you evolve. Sometimes it will, sometimes it won't. But irrespective of that destination you choose for well-being, that toolbox, whatever you put as individual wellness elements, has to align with the owner. And we could say you have to have a full-blown longevity clinic, otherwise you're not doing wellness properly. But if it doesn't work for the owner, then that'll always be a liability. No matter how bling and lovely and amazing that wellness concept, the longevity concept is. So the who is the key, I think the most important before the what kind of wellness offering and how you do it. And the who is the visionary, their vision of wellness and what sits well within, their vision, what they want to achieve with it. And then also, there is no right way of doing wellness. They can do it however they want to do it, as long as it feels comfortable for them. And you can still have a wellness asset if you don't have any spa or any gym facility in your hotel. And you could also have a wellness liability in your hotel, having the best wellness facilities out there, the best wellness professionals out there, but it just simply doesn't align with the owner's vision. So, who before the what and why? And the wellness asset is something that is highly personal, and that depends on that who. And it doesn't need to be a full blown kind of wellness offering for that to be an asset. And as we see this wave of properties now also looking to implement wellness in their properties, this is that message I am trying to get out. Wellness succeeds or fails at the level it is designed. And it really does start with the who. And the success of your wellness offering, that asset, endures at the level of it's stewarded. And again, we go back to the who. If the visionaries themselves do not see themselves as the stewards of whatever wellness concept has been created, no matter how successful it is at the beginning, it will not endure in time. And wellness does not have to be the way any wellness expert tells them. There really is no playbook out there, and thank heavens for that. There are many good ways of doing wellness. When it's always kind of, I was going to say a Spanglish word there, um, as long as it anchors to the place, to the local community, to the vision of the owner. So that is me sharing my messiness with you. I also welcome your thoughts. I'd love to know your thoughts on the messiness as I, share my thoughts with you, unraveling the writing process. Wishing you all a wonderful day ahead. Take care now.